The Perfect Host Show on DJNTV. I'm Jim Cerone. In this episode, we're going to talk all about money. That's next. Jim Cerone with The Perfect Host Show on DJNTV. This week, revealing the secret to managing money. To a lot of people, budget is a bad word. The secret to managing money is right here. What does a 20 have to do with managing money? Everyone thinks of money as a mountain, and it's really not. Think of a faucet that drips constantly. You're about to close your eyes to go to sleep at night, and all you can hear is that faucet drip, 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 dripping. When you break a 20, you might as well kiss that sucker goodbye. Because if you spend that 20 for $1, a soda, the rest of that $19 will also disappear. If you can learn to manage the small things about your money, you will then master the big things. So what does this have to do with me sitting on the floor in my office? At the end of every year, I have a giant envelope that I save all my receipts in. I sit down on the floor in my office and I sort the receipts into piles. ATM withdrawals and restaurant and parking and all the other expenses that our businesses have during the year. Guess what pile this is? This is the restaurant pile. The one thing that our family likes to do is eat. And we eat at home most nights, but once or twice a week, maybe more, we go out to eat. This is how your money disappears. And I'm going to reference Dave Ramsey, who is a fantastic author and who provides tons of free advice. Now, you could get Dave Ramsey's book called The Total Money Makeover, which I highly recommend. And if you were to look at my copy of the book, you would see that it's full of highlighting and that the pages are dog-eared because there's specific concepts that I have really highlighted. This is a really simple way to manage your money. One of the things that Dave Ramsey asks you to do is track your expenses. Just literally for 1 month, write down everything you spend. Having a budget is great. Looking at your bank statements online is great, unless you're doing it all the time because you're worried that you're overdrafting, then you got a problem. One of the things to do is to physically sit down and handwrite each expense, because that forces it to go through your brain and really to register, okay, I spent $25 on parking after that event that night. I spent this much on eating out that month. I spent this much on clothing that month. I spent this much on sneakers. I spent whatever it is. But you need to sit down and just get a physical representation of what you're spending each month. Again, it's great to look at it online. But when you have to physically write it down and track what you've spent for a month, then you begin to see some patterns. If you'll do it for 3 months, you'll really see some patterns in what you're spending your money on. And you may find that what you're doing is breaking 20s and then spending the whole thing. Now, once you've figured out what you're spending, you can then go through and shut off the faucets that you don't want leaking. Most of the time, we get our gas at Sam's Club. Why? Because it's usually 10, 15, or 20 cents cheaper than anywhere else in town. It's a little bit out of the way, so we have to remember when we need gas to try to swing by Sam's Club. But if you have that kind of warehouse membership or a fuel card or fuel rewards card, and it's a few cents cheaper, that adds up over time. It's the same thing in reverse when you want to save money. The best way to save money is a little bit at a time. We all think of it as this big thing that we'll never be able to do. And the point is, it needs to be done in really small steps. When I spoke at Mobile Beat in 2016 about money, one of the things that I brought up on stage was somebody who couldn't afford to go to the show. It's not that they couldn't afford to go to Mobile Beat. It's that they didn't choose to save a little bit of money all throughout the year before so that they could go to next year's show. It's really easy. If you do 50 events a year and you save $10 from each event, then you'll have enough money to go to the show. But none of us think that that's making a big enough impact. We feel like if we can't save $1,000 at once, then we shouldn't save at all. But remember the $20 example. If you break this, it's going to disappear. But you can use that concept in reverse. If you save $5 out of the 20 every time you have a 20, then you have a lot of money after a year. So please stop thinking about money as this big, gigantic gorilla that you can't wrestle. You can. You just do it a little bit at a time. When it comes to spending, look for ways that you can cut down on spending a little bit at a time, so you're not really hurting yourself or causing your family or your household any problems. You're just doing it a little bit at a time. So if you spend a little bit less, if you save a little bit more, then by a year, 5 years, you'll have created new habits, and those habits will stick. Remember about spending a little bit less? If you don't have the money to buy Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book, Dave has tons of free videos on YouTube. You can also listen to his show for free almost every day in every market around the country. You can even listen to his radio show online. Every day he's talking to real people with real budget issues just like you and telling them how to conquer them. And it's a little at a time. That's why he calls baby steps and debt snowballs, and there's a lot of great concepts. So if you didn't learn finance, if it's something that you struggle with, just know that it's simple. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, Jim just understands money and I don't. You're looking at a guy who bounced more checks in his 20s than anybody you know.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
How did I learn about money? Let me tell you 2 quick stories about my parents. First one's about my mom. When I was a really little kid, there was a prize on the back of a cereal box, and you had to send in $4 for it. My mom knew that the prize sucked, but she wanted to teach me a lesson about money. So I had saved up $4 in my piggy bank, literally, and she said, okay, well, we're going to take your money and we're going to send off for this prize. We sent the money. First, it took forever to be delivered. It was 6 or 8 weeks, and I went to the mailbox every day checking. When it arrived, it was cheap crap that broke immediately. My mom knew that, but she wanted me to understand the value of money. I've never forgotten that story, and now I'm telling it to you. Now, the story about my dad. He was a chartered financial analyst, which is just a fancy term for somebody who's really good with math. My dad could always figure the tip in his head. He never had to look at his phone and put in 0.20 to figure out what the tip is for the server. He could do it in his head. He could do long division. He could do multiplication, huge tables in his head. I didn't get that gene. What did we have around us when I was growing up to read? Most people got the Sunday paper with the comics, right? Or at least you could open the newspaper and look at the pictures. We got the Wall Street Journal. 2 things the Wall Street Journal doesn't have: comics or pictures. There's a real difference between wants and needs. And in our American society, where we're constantly getting bombarded by commercial messages, it's really easy to lose sight of that fact. There are things that we need that are essential to our life on a day-to-day basis. And then there are things that we want. It's really easy to get seduced by beautiful pictures of brand new cars. Buying brand new cars is one of the worst things you can do. The minute you drive it off the lot, it loses a ridiculous amount of its value. If you took the car back to the dealer the next day and sold it back, they would give you much less than you just paid for it 24 hours ago. But we love new cars. We love the shine. We love the way the wheels sparkle. We love the way the car smells. It is a ridiculous way to spend money. It's much better to buy a good used car and then spend $100, $200 having somebody detail it for you. But we want a new car. We don't need one. Do you have 1 car payment right now? Do you have 2 car payments? Are those 2 car payments more than your mortgage? Then you really need to check out Dave Ramsey's video on how to buy a good used car. And eventually, if you use his strategy, you can buy a used car for cash with no loan, no debt. You don't have to worry about how much interest you're going to pay because you're not going to pay any. You're going to buy a car with your own money. How does this apply to our DJ businesses? Did you buy things you wanted this year, or did you buy things that you needed? It's really hard to break speakers. Most of the time, the speakers we're replacing are just fine. We want to replace them because there's a new speaker that's a little louder or a little clearer or a little smaller, a little lighter, but we don't really need them. We want them. It's really important for you to look at what you've spent in the last year for DJ equipment and then think next year, what do I really need to buy? And bank the rest. I do hope these ideas help you get your personal financial house in order. That will make it easier for you to run your DJ business. And it would make me thrilled if you were able to make your DJ business full-time. Here comes the disclaimer. Jim Cerone is not, nor has ever been, a financial advisor. These are just some thoughts and ideas to help you get out of debt and think of money in a different way. Let me wrap up by asking you what you want. What do you want out of life? Do you want more peace of mind? Do you want to be able to sleep better at night? Do you want to get out of debt? You can do it. There's lots of tools. Ask me questions below. I'm happy to answer anything about money. Remember, I'm the one who really doesn't do math very well, and it took me a long time to get a handle on our finances. There are lots of great tools. Dave Ramsey's daily radio show, his YouTube videos, his book, Total Money Makeover. He says, live like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. Remember, managing money is easy. Just remember, it's the little things. Turn off the drips that are leaking out of your budget and turn on the ones that will bring you savings and profit.